comparison is only a premise or a foundation for conquest. Hello there folks, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. And well, here I am again with another video presenting a different idea, a different topic as usual. This one on the idea of comparison. Now I think I made a previous video on this, and well, this time I want to present it really short. What is basically comparison? Well, comparison is basically nothing else than a declaration of war. Okay. Now, of course, it is not a military war, but it is kind of at least a mental war. Okay. And as I've been saying in previous videos, whatever is in your mind is not necessarily yours. Well, basically nothing that is in your mind is basically yours. So, in the first place, why place so much importance on it? Now, comparison is nothing else than, well, let's call it as a kind of declaration of war. It is, well, a sign of conquest. Now, what is the idea of conquest? Now, conquest attributes itself to wounded male energy. Now, what is wounded male energy? Well, all beings in this world are represented and shaped through male and female energy alike. Now, gender is something far more advanced on the scale of creation, but the point is, irrespective of one unit being of male or female gender, these two genders exist here on this universe. On other planets there may be more genders, okay? There may be hybrids of genders, but the point is, we have two genders on this planet, the masculine and the feminine. Irrespective of what a gender is for a person, right? That is only the physical body. It is only a small part of the large scale that they are. Now the point is, with these said, the point is, irrespective of one's gender, they have both female and male energy as well. Now the point is, these energies may get a bit forsaken, because when people embrace ignorance, and of course the influence of our ancestors is also great, the point is some of these energies can get, well, let's say raffled. Now when this happens, right, well, there is one unfortunate event that happens. When these energies become, let's say, tangled with, or let's say tinted with negativity and lower vibes, right, there are imbalances that will happen at all the levels of a certain being. Usually the male energy deals with assertiveness and with, rigorousness and, scaling things, making things better, improving things, but always forming a great, rigorous structure, right? Control. When it comes to the feminine energy, it is more based on the creational part and therefore less on the rational aspect, which belongs mainly to the main male energy. Right? The main female energy is based more on nurturing and expansion, right? And, well, let's say more importantly, creation, right? Because female energy is represented in this world by water. It is also highly influenced by the moon and, well, yes, different other forces, but these are usually the ones that shape the world in their own way. Now, the point about feminine energy is that in Europe and, well, in countries touched by Christianity and, well, mainly religions that serve one single god will tend to favor only one of the energies. Now, if we see the example of Christianity, they worship a god which is a male, right? But they don't present anything about females, right? Mainly, many of the saints are males, although there are some female saints as well. But for so long in Europe, the idea of the woman is that women have always been seen as either inferior or not worthy or any other way, okay? And this shows that a society has forsaken its feminine energy. Now, when the feminine energy is disregarded, the creativity potential is also reduced, which creates a huge resistance to change, because you want structure and rigorosity, and when these become your comfort zone, you will oppose change naturally, but you'll also forget through ignorance that change is the only constant. So once your creativity is extinguished, technically you will become a conqueror. Now, comparison is a foundation for conquest because you will always have to feel different than others in order to conquer them, right? Now, again, comparison is what leads to abuse and to many other ways and many other things, right? Whatever is weak, right? It has to be compared, right? It has to be labeled as such by a discerning mind. Now, that discerning mind can be used at a certain level of awareness, right? And animals also do that. In the animal realm, the bigger animal will always bully the younger animal, right? And will always bully the smaller species. It is an aspect of impulsiveness, which, well, is guided by survival only. Now, the point is, when you compare yourself with others, the point is you do that comparison from a point of ignorance. Because if you are aware of who and what you are, you don't need to compare yourself with the others. When you know who and what you are and the extent of your being and your potential, you will always seek more help from the feminine energy. Now, you're not going to forsake the masculine energy because you're going to need both of them to succeed and live a happy and joyful life and live as a fully one being, right? Instead of being half of a being. And there is plenty of male energy in this world because this world stinks of it. So usually you will tend to a more creative part. Now the more creative part is the feminine energy, and it also have a conquest of its own, right? But the feminine conquest is that of inclusion, right? The male seeks to fight other males to win the heart of the woman, but on the second point, the other part, right, the feminine energy. Well, the feminine energy is highly interested in attention as well because we are all, social beings. But feminine energy, right? Now, I was talking about the feminine gender, right? But they also have masculine and feminine energy. But the feminine energy will usually be or tend to be more prominent in the feminine gender. Now, the female, right, will seek to include others in their own life, right? That is what women usually do. They always dress nicely, they behave in certain ways, and they bombard you with psychological meanings, right? While this is nothing else than kind of a test in the end, because females always need to test their partners. This is a hard-coded aspect of honor because, well, they don't conquer you in the sense of male energy. Well, few women would do this in the end because out of a lack of attention many people are capable of enforcing someone to join them, and usually that's the reason why people end up in unfavorable relationships, let's say like that. Now, when you compare yourself with someone else, you're already creating a war. First of all, a war against yourself because you're comparing yourself with someone, and usually you're doing that in a detrimental way, right? That is the male way. Conquest. You're already waiting for war, and you're at the same time already ready for war, right? The feminine is all about inclusion. It wants to include. To the feminine energy, there is no such thing as classification because the feminine, right, is manifested through creation, creativity, right? And art and creativity are things that must not be limited because the moment you limit those are just limitations, not art. And the feminine will always create based on this principle, on the principle of, limitless, boundless creativity. Because usually the feminine, right, the feminine gender is far more in tune with so many things of the universe. Even if women are ignorant, and well, like many other people, they are also, the point is, even in states of ignorance, they are still more perceptive to certain things because that's how they were designed. The simple fact that they have to undergo carriage, right, they have to give birth to a child, they have, well, nature has equipped them with a lot of privileges, with a lot of advantages, but these can also serve as disadvantages if not properly taken care of. right? So the point of analysis always comes from wounded masculine energy, right? It can also come from wounded feminine energy, because when the feminine is wounded, right, it will seek a sort of revenge. It will seek to create traumas, right? It will seek to create drama, because the feminine always requires emotion, and if the feminine doesn't have emotion, it will make all the possible things to make sure that that is ensured, right? That is why women can piss you off, and they will do all sorts of things to draw your attention, because usually the feminine has to be manifested through, right? It's not manifested by, or it's not acting usually by its own accord, right? Because the male is structure, rigorosity, right? It acts by its own self. The feminine acts in more mysterious ways, and also feminine energy is like water, because water is kind of what represents it the best. Water energy is, eternal, everlasting in a way. Fire energy, which is male-ish, consumes itself very fast, and it's all about expansion and survival, because the fire, if it does not expand, it will, well, consume all the oxygen and kind of disappear. Water is more eternal. It is like the emotions, right? The fire represents the mind. The mind is very fast and swift. It changes from one idea to another. Emotions are very sluggish. Once an emotion hits, well, it's gonna stay there for a while. That is why so many people struggle with emotions and may end up believing that emotions are bad, because they usually end up feeling the lower vibrational emotions in the first place. And, well, as I said, emotions have a way of lingering around. Now, the point about this is inclusion, right, is the feminine approach. Inclusion means that something is added, right? An expansion occurs. Something is not changed. It is accepted the way it is. And that's usually how females work. They tend to accept men the way they are, and, well, that's something that should be like, because, well, again, people place too much accent on the idea of the mind, the mental, right? The structures. And, well, people become structured. The problem is they will fight against any change, right? They will fight against anything that will change their comfort zone. That is why animals also become incapable of leaving their environment, right? If their environment is endangered, they may try to run away, but many of them will simply choose to perish, right? Because ultimately the comfort zone becomes far more important than survival and existence on its own. So the point about conquest is you're already trying a conquest when you're comparing yourself with others. It's just that when you're not verbally showing it or showing it through actions, you're just making the preparations because you're technically at a certain war. You don't like someone when you compare yourself with them. Even if you like them, the reason why you compare yourself with others is usually there is still something that hasn't been treated yet, a wound from a past life or this current life that hasn't been dealt with, right? Now again, there is the other approach, the feminine approach, which is inclusion, right? When you compare yourself with others so that you want to include their skills into your arsenal and learn from them, that is the feminine approach, right? You want to include other people's abilities. You want to get into contact with people, communicate with them, share some of your experiences in return. That is also the feminine approach, right? So you need both of these energies to be correctly healed in order to achieve success in your own life. Why I'm saying this is, well, very simple, right? The point is, you need the male for structure and rigorosity, right, to carry on with your work and progress and whatever you feel like doing, and you also need the feminine, right? You need the authenticity. You need authenticity in both energies, because authenticity is the most attractive part in this world. When you are authentic, people will instantly be drawn to you, because when you're authentic, you're just like a mirror. People see in you what they don't like about themselves and what they like about themselves, and usually when people are authentic, they will like them more because they see someone who has the power and will to do and say things that they themselves may not feel courageous enough for the moment to say, right? It's like you're inspiring people with, doing nothing, right? You're just yourself. You're not doing anything special to draw people's attention, but you will draw people's attention more. Now again, it depends on people's level of awareness and what they tend towards, but that will probably be the subject of another video. So hopefully this video was introspective enough. Hopefully you've learned a bit from this and become more curious, and through curiosity hopefully you will start exploring more of your own self. Now all these being said, hopefully you, well, like and subscribe. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you will share this with others so we help raise the awareness of other people. And all this being said, you are appreciated. Take care. Ferenc on board signing out.